is KTN Friday Briefing with Betty Kialo.
Out of the 23 officers who fall in the ranks of Deputy Commissioners of Police, 18 were found suitable.
Vetted out, the axe falls on 2 more top cops.
The chief negotiators of the 2 parties and to their entire delegations congratulate them on behalf of us all assembled here.
A ray of hope, but will the ceasefire deal stem the suffering of South Sudan citizens?
We are the people who told Raila that the rigging has taken place and the government squarely, fully is involved.
Come for us, leave Raila alone, COD senators tell Raila's critics. Risking life for cash, 2 nearly die retrieving money from a latrine. Have your company tonight on this 24th day of January. Tonight, as always, we have a great show lined up, including the latest news events taking place in and around the country. We'll be speaking to Presidential Press Secretary on the latest updates from South Sudan. But also on our guest anchor seat is Reverend Kathy Kuna. Let me introduce her. Reverend, great to see you. You look dashing as always.
Thank you.
So now people are used to you singing and, preaching.
Pastoring.
Pastoring. What should they expect tonight?
Tonight, I'm going to be doing the anchor. I'm going to be reading the news anchor. So I'm excited about that. I'm looking forward.
And you look the part.
Thank you.
Please do not take my job.
I'll try not to. You better pray.
Oh, I will pray. And I have you. I know you won't take it away from me. But hoping to see you in a short while.
Yes.
All right. We will be coming to her in a short while as our guest anchor. But of course, let's now start with our top stories tonight. And 2 more senior police officers, Philip Twimur and Eusebius Karuti Laibuta, have been sacked by their employer after vetting. The chairperson of the National Police Service Commission, Johnston Kavuludi, said 3 other senior officers, Kingori Mwangi, Gideon Kimilu and Peter Pamba, are still under investigations, and their verdict will be known next week. That story will be coming in a short while. Let's move on to some politics. And Siaya Senator James Orengo and his Machakos counterpart, Johnston Muthama, have maintained that they are the ones who advised former Prime Minister Raila Odinga that the military was used to rig last year's elections. Well, they insist they still believe that is exactly what happened and any person who expects an apology over that assertion should face the 2 of them, not Raila Odinga.
We are the people who told Raila that the rigging has taken place and the government squarely, fully is involved with that rigging. Kishang was there and other military officers. So we want to say without here contradiction, contradicting ourselves, contradicting anybody, without real contradiction, that it is the military and the government that rigged the election.
I would urge Raila Odinga not to apologize. We seem to love Raila Odinga when we cannot get solutions, when we want a new constitution, when we want to bring change, when the media is in trouble, like it is now, with the laws that have been just enacted by Parliament and assented by the President, then we seem to have space for Raila Amolo Odinga. But when he says things that must be said, then we begin to demand an apology which is not justified.
Now, those assertions by Senators Muthama and Orengo form the basis of our big question tonight. And we are asking, do you think that former Prime Minister Raila Odinga owes Kenyans an apology over the claims that the military was used to rig the March 4th general elections? Do you think that the Prime Minister Raila Odinga owes Kenyans an apology for claims that the military was used in rigging the March 4th, 2013 general elections? We'd like to hear from you. The number is 22155 22155. You can also tweet me at Betty Kialo or at KTN Kenya, and we'll sample your views as we move along. Now let's move on to our top story, and two more senior police officers, Philip Twimur and Eusebius Karuti Laibuta, have been sacked by their employer after vetting. Now the chairperson of the National Police Service Commission, Johnston Kavuludi, said three other senior officers, Kingori Mwangi, Gideon Kimilu and Peter Pamba, are still under investigations, and their verdict will be known next week. Here's the story.
This time round, when the National Police Service Commission announced results of the second batch of the vetting process for senior police officers, the officers were in attendance. It has been 2 weeks since they were here last for grilling to determine whether they should be sacked or retained in the service under the ongoing police reforms. 18 officers were present, and from their body language, it appeared they were eager to hear positive communication from their employer.
Out of the 23 officers who fall in the ranks of Deputy Commissioners of Police, 18 were found suitable to continue serving in the police service, while 2 were found unsuitable.
The two officers who were sacked are Eusebius Karuti Laibuta, who has been in charge of the Senior Administration Police Training College in Emali, and Philip Kipchirchir Twimur, who has been based at the police headquarters. During the vetting exercise, Laibuta caused laughter when he pleaded with the commissioners not to fire long-serving officers, saying such a move could cause the death of some officers, maybe out of shock. Philip Twimur was pushed by the commission to explain why he had refused to surrender a house at the GSU training school even after he was transferred.
They are given a 7-day window, during which time they will be able to lodge their request for a review.
Zachary Kingori Mwangi, who is the Deputy Director in charge of police reforms, Deputy Director of Criminal Intelligence Gideon Mwoki Kimilu, and Peter Pamba, who is in charge of operations for the Administration Police Service, are still under investigation. This was after new information emerged after the officers had been vetted. Kingori Mwangi told the Standard he has been asked to explain why he did not disclose the bank statement of his wife. However, there have been claims that some officers targeted for sacking are seeking intervention of their godfathers to be retained in service.
This commission is carrying out its mandate without any influence whatsoever from any quarters. Even if they are contemplated by any quarter, it has not been open to our participating in the same. We are not in any way constrained. There is no horse trading.
The report on the vetting exercise comes a few days after the Commission Chairman and Commissioner Mohamed Murshid received a letter laced with powder warning them to go slow on the exercise or suffer consequences.
Getting a threatening message when you are in a position where you make decisions is very normal in any public life here and elsewhere in the world. It simply increases our resolve to carry out the reforms.
Francis Okonya was reinstated on Tuesday after moving to court. Will also have a day with the commission to review his case. The vetting of 180 other senior police officers is scheduled to start mid-February. Patrick Amimo, KTN.
Now, the government and rebels in South Sudan have signed a ceasefire deal to end a month of fighting that has killed thousands of South Sudanese. The deal was brokered by negotiators in Ethiopian capital Addis Ababa, representing a ray of hope and progress of restoring normalcy since fighting broke in December.
The peace deal signed Thursday evening stipulates pausing of fighting within the first 24 hours of its enforcement. The truce between government and rebels mark a landmark progress to forestalling the 5-week anarchy that has claimed thousands of lives, with thousands others fleeing South Sudan. The deal inked in the Ethiopian capital Addis Ababa was signed by representatives of President Salva Kiir and rebel chief Riek Machar.
This is critically important, not only to give peace a chance in our country, but also to pave the way for a serious national political dialogue aiming at reaching a lasting peace in South Sudan.
What really worries us in terms of whether the agreement on the cessation of hostilities will stick or not is the capacity of the rebel group.
The fighting that began December 15, 2013 was a culmination of political friction between Kiir and his former deputy Machar turned ugly. Nonetheless, the rebels are still insisting on the release of its 11 officials captured during the war. The agreement is thought to have addressed the issues of the detainees, though no timelines for their freedom have been given. The status of the detainees had been a major sticking point in the peace talks brokered by regional body IGAD.
Along with this conviction, we believe our comrades who are still languishing in jails are prisoners of their political conscience. Therefore, we remain and demand their release to join the next stage of the comprehensive and inclusive national political dialogue.
And this will give now a room for the both parties to commit to the remaining outstanding issues.
But as the peace deal was being signed, still some South Sudanese were fleeing the war-torn country. This as government forces battle rebels to force them out of their control centers. In the past week, government forces have recaptured 2 main cities under rebel control. The conflict has triggered humanitarian crisis with thousands fleeing their homes. The truce deal is to set up a ceasefire verification mechanism and allow unrestricted access to aid workers. The peace talks have been adjourned to resume February 7th to seeking a lasting solution in the world's youngest nation. What started as political differences between the president and his former deputy heightened to a full-scale war with reports of ethnic dimensions. Samogina, KTN.
Now joining me in studio is Ateng Wekateng, who's President Salva Kiir's presidential press secretary. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
All right.
Yes.
Maybe we could start with the nitty-gritties of this agreement. What does it entail?
In fact, what happened on the 15th of December, as many people would like to believe, is actually a coup attempt. Those who actually argue otherwise are outside the reality. They are out of touch with the reality. It started as a democratic process within the SPLM when the SPLM as a political party sat on the 14th and the 15th to pass the basic documents. That is the manifesto and the constitution. Dr. Riek and his group were in the first day, that is on the 14th, which is on Saturday. They think that they would be having significant number of people, of members of the National Liberation Council. But they were surprised that there were only 8 out of, and there were 136 members of National Liberation Council. So they realized that they cannot do it democratically. The basic document was passed on the 14th. Then on the 15th, they came to also pass the constitution. And Dr. Riek and his group, that's 7 of them, decided to abstain from Sunday process. And
Secretary, maybe just to cut you short, because we're moving forward. I mean, I think the idea here is what exactly entails this deal, this agreement between the two?
Oh yeah, this is an argument of ceasefire. That is the cessation of hostilities has been signed yesterday, and the government is quite committed, and everybody now is happy that there will be no fighting within the next coming days. So, by the way, it has been received by the people with jubilation and ululation, and we hope that the rebel will actually respect. They are part of the agreement. Not to violate the ceasefire.
All right.
But the government is committed to stay.
All right.
To implement.
And what are some of the compromises that you can say were made so that this agreement could be found? So far, last time you have seen how the rebels and the government has been at loggerhead in matters pertinent to the release of detainees, and the government was adamant that it cannot go into negotiation which are actually conditional. And the mediators came in actually and provided the middle ground that the cessation of hostilities has to be signed unconditionally, which they have actually signed yesterday. And within 48 hours, they will go to start on what is called monitoring and verification mechanism. And then they will go to the next phase, because the release of detainees now, according to the agreement yesterday, it refers to the 27 communique of the IGAD, which is an extraordinary communique, which actually recognizes the fact that the detainees are to be released in accordance with the laws of South Sudan. Okay. So it has to go process of the law. All right. What is the state of affairs right now in South Sudan? Because as late as yesterday, we saw pictures of people still fleeing. What is the situation there right now? In fact, the people are still fleeing simply because the rebel up to yesterday, they were still causing havoc. They were still trying to wage the psychological war against the people by, exaggerating their force, by saying that we are going to take Juba, we are going to take other cities and all this. So the citizen, owing to the fact that it was very difficult for them to flee for their life during the fight, especially on the 15th and the 16th, they tend to believe those psychological war and they would want to look for a safety. When in fact now the situation in South Sudan, I just came from there this evening, and it is secure. So I can say that Juba is as secure as Nairobi, and I can assure you about this. So after how long will we see South Sudanese nationals able to maybe go back home? Well, it will depend on the South Sudanese who are living outside the country, believing that there is peace. Always South Sudan has a lot of opportunities. Last time, I myself, I was in England. I came back after the signing of CPA, after I realized that there was going to be relative peace in South Sudan. That's where I came back to South Sudan. Right. So by them seeing the relative peace coming back to South Sudan, they will all converge back to South Sudan, because at the end of the day anyway, they cannot live here without going back to South Sudan. All right. Thank you very much, Presidential Secretary, for that. Thank you so much. All right, we have been speaking to Ateng Wekateng, who is President Salva Kiir's Presidential Press Secretary. Let's now move on to other matters. And the Kenya Primary School Heads Association will meet tomorrow to thrash out issues surrounding the ranking of schools after KCPE. And as KTN's Wilson Buru reports, the meetings come in the wake of an outcry from parents and teachers whose children have been left out of the selection process for national schools, despite having been among the top performers in last year's KCPE examinations.
Earlier this month, the Ministry of Education launched the much-anticipated Form 1 selection, with 17,000 slots reserved for selection in the 48 national schools. The Director of Secondary Education and Higher Learning in the Ministry, Robert Masese, explained that all the set guidelines regarding the selection process would be followed to the letter. The county directors of education were required to have picked the admission letters for the students admitted to county schools Friday, but not everything seems to be going right.
We'll do the county and extra county school selection between 20th and 21st, and we'll do sub-county or district selections on the 22nd.
The county directors of education were required to have picked the admission letters for the students admitted to county schools Friday, but not everything seems to be going right. Odhiambo Achieng Catherine, who studied at the Mount Kenya Baptist School in Nanyuki, scored 416 marks. In an ideal world, one would expect that she would receive an admission letter to a respectable national school, but this has not been forthcoming.
We shall do replacement for national schools. On the 17th February, we do replacement for extra county and the county schools at the county headquarters. Of course, national school replacements will be done in Jogo, and the district school replacement will be done on 19th at the sub-county headquarters.
This is now giving parents and students alike sleepless nights, as exhibited by Valua Tamara Nthanga. Tamara scored 353 marks, but she has also not received any communication regarding her fate.
Wana helpline number, nikamwambia ajaribu kupiga hiyo ndio apate solutions. Na akaniambia hiyo namba alipiga lakini hakuambiwa chochote.
All of us, the parents, other stakeholders, our friends in the fourth estate, that we continue having confidence in our institutions, and more so our public institutions.
Even as the government continues to insist that every student who performed well will get a place in Form 1, questions are once again arising over how effective the system of selection is, as some of those left out were among the top performers in the country. Wilson Buru, KTN, Nairobi.
Now, the government and the Kenya Forest Service have denied burning down houses in Embobut Forest. The officials claim that the former residents of the forest who were compensated by the government late last year are burning down their houses to ensure that no one else reoccupies their old houses. However, in the same breath, the Elgeyo-Marakwet County Commissioner does admit that his officers are bringing down houses.
We gave a notice that the forest squatters should be out by 26th of December. The forest has seen a lot of movement out from 26th of November, and there has been sporadic burning of houses from 26th, 27th, because many of the people who were in the forest brought down their own houses. Others were even burning houses as they were living. Why? Because they knew once you leave these structures in the forest, then other people with other intentions are bound to make use of them.
Still on the same breath, the leaders from Elgeyo-Marakwet are not happy with the manner the evictions in Embobut Forest are being carried out. Led by Elgeyo-Marakwet Governor Alex Tolgos, the leaders say that the evictions should be conducted in a humane manner. They were speaking in Elgeyo-Marakwet County after a meeting in Iten.
Those people from Embobut who have a genuine permit, they be included in the second phase. And again, we are requesting an audit for the whole exercise. Burning of houses in 21st century, burning of a house, even if it's abandoned by those people who are moving out, is primitive and should not happen again. We have told the county commissioner to work together with KFS, who was also part of our meeting, to ensure that they are told that there are more modern, creative ways of demolishing a property other than burning. Because the whole world is watching and looking like we are burning our people and without caring about their interests.
Removing the forest dwellers from the forest is not enough, or even giving them money. And we all know that the money which was given out was not enough. And we still have some other areas which we still have people residing in the forest.
Now, the First Lady, Margaret Kenyatta, has launched her campaign strategy to curb the high numbers of infant mortalities. During the launch, she hosted corporate institutions and donors, mobilizing them to support and share her in the vision, putting an end to the growing numbers of infant mortalities. All right, that story will be coming in a short while. Let's take a short commercial break. But before then, let us have a reminder of our big question tonight. And we are asking, do you think that former Prime Minister Raila Odinga owes Kenyans an apology for claiming that the military was used in rigging the March 4th, 2013 general elections? The number is 22155. You can tweet me at Betty Kialo or at KTN Kenya, and I'll be sampling your views as we move along. Let's now take a short commercial break. Don't go away. We'll be back. Risking life for cash. Two nearly die retrieving money from a latrine.
Hapa soko tunakuja kutegemea vitu muhimu sana. Kama hivi watu wanauza hapa, tunapata pesa zetu na tunapata faida. Lakini hao walipopandisha municipal, walipopandisha bei ya kuingia kwa geti kwa magari, walizidisha kiwango kwa sababu sasa hii wanachukua karibu 100 kwa kila mzigo. Gari pia kuingia 100 kila gari. Imekuwa tabu sana kwa sababu hiyo 100 wewe mwenyewe utapata 100 ndani. Na ile 100 unategemea akichukua kama 5 ndio pata ile nyingine uweke hata uendelee nayo mbele.
You are watching KTN Friday Briefing.
I want you to forget about everybody right now. The only thing you can give Jesus in church is worship. Your money belongs to him. Everything about you, your heartbeat belongs to him. So all...
Right, Reverend Kathy Kuna, welcome.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here.
Thank you very much.
I'm used to seeing you on the pulpit, you know, preaching and everything. And right now, you know, you're such a calm person. It's such a different view from the pulpit. From how I'm used to.
Yeah, of course. You know, when you see somebody under the anointing, it's a different ball game altogether. Yeah.
Very interesting. Now, I just want to read something to you. Our viewers is one Timothy Mulandi, who's saying, watu waanze kurepent, anointing on set today.
Come on, you know what, he's so right.
He's very right. Yeah. I'm very scared.
Yeah.
So it's great to have you.
Thank you very much.
I've always wanted to ask, how did you know that you have the anointing or you had the calling?
I actually didn't know in the beginning. I didn't know, but with Judah, I thought it was my husband who was called.
Okay.
And my take was just to help him. I was called to be a helpmate. You know, all women are helpmate.
Oh, really?
To the husband, of course.
I think you'll explain that a little bit more.
Yeah. When I'll let you know.
All right. So it's like you got the push from him.
I actually thought that I was just going to support him.
Yes.
But somewhere down the line, he actually is the one that saw the calling in me.
Okay.
And he decided to tell me, honey, you're called to the woman, and you need to get up and start.
Okay.
You know, directing her. So I was surprised.
So how do you, because every time you're preaching, you know, you throw these verses all over the place. Do you cram them, or is there a school you go to learn?
To
how
be honest,
do they occur to you so naturally?
To be honest, it's an anointing.
Okay.
And an anointing is not something that you can just explain, because when you get on the pulpit, it's a different ball game. You begin to hear things, and you know, it's more than what you can really study. Of course, study also goes a long way, but the anointing helps you to carry the day.
I like that.
Yeah.
Now, I'd like to welcome your views on Twitter. I can see quite a number. If you have any questions for Reverend Kathy Kuna, of course, you can tweet me and I'll be glad to share them with her. She's here. Anything that you've always wanted to ask her. Now, you have a family. I mean, how do you balance between this? Because it looks like it's a very demanding job, being a church leader and also being a mom and a wife. How do you balance both?
It's actually quite demanding, but there is grace. I believe that whatever God calls you to do, he gives you grace to be able to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, like for instance, there are people who look at you and wonder, okay, Betty, how do you manage reading the news and you know, how do you anchor? But yet for you, it's probably natural because that's what you're called to do. You know.
All right, and then the other thing, fine, you're a mom, you're a wife,
a worship leader, a pastor.
I also know you do a lot of cooking.
Cooking, I love cooking. Cooking is my hobby.
Really?
I love. Oh my God!
So how are you an expert in all these fields? Is it possible to be good in all these things? Because you're an author also.
Yeah. Yes, I am.
How do you do it?
I really, like I said, it's really been the grace of God, and I love what I do. So it becomes easy because there is grace to do it. So yeah, I really wouldn't say that it's a hassle, and you know, it's easy because I enjoy it.
Now, Reverend, someone might look at you and think, oh, she looks like she has everything together. It's like you've been like this since
all my life.
Born.
Yeah.
Was there a struggle before we knew Reverend Kathy Kuna? Was there a time that things were not going right?
Maybe you should ask how difficult it was, because was there a time?
Yes.
Oh my God, I thought it would never end. There was a major time that we went through a lot, that my husband and I were actually sleeping on the floor.
Really?
For a long time.
Okay.
And I never thought that we would ever come out of it. You know, so we went through a very, very serious challenge of wilderness and really waiting on direction.
So so it was a struggle, and even before you met your husband, before you started the church work.
Yeah.
When you're growing up, was there any time that you're struggling? Because if you look at so many young people right now, young women, there's always a story of struggle. Like the other day I was interviewing Gloria Muliro, and she said she was once a house help, and from grass to grace.
Yes.
Did you have a moment, or for you it was a bit easy?
For me it was a bit easy, not before I got married. So for me it was a bit easy, because my background, my parents were fine. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, they're okay.
They were okay. So I didn't have those challenges of lack when I was growing up. Okay. But of course the challenges of rebellion and
a lot of that.
A lot of that.
All right then.
Yeah.
I want you to introduce the story for us, and then we'll continue with the chit chat in just a short while.
Right.
So this is a very big task. I think you've been watching, and things can go crazy.
And I told you to be careful. I might just take your job.
Please don't. Please, I love my job. All right, Reverend. So your camera is the camera too.
Right.
And I think you will do great. So you introduce yourself and share the story with Kenyans.
Yes.
All right.
Good evening. My name is Reverend Kathy Kuna, and it's a delight to be here tonight and be able to anchor for you. Now, how far would you go for 1,000 shillings? What about 3,000 shillings? For two men in Kisii County, the ends of the earth. The two fell into a pit latrine in a series of events that left a village in total disarray. KTN's Edith Kimani explains.
A.m. Friday, and emergency responders are having a difficult time doing their job. The crowd is swelling. School has been interrupted. Everyone wants a glimpse of this man. His story began on Thursday when a woman in the Kiamabundu village accidentally dropped her purse with an estimated 13,000 shillings in a pit latrine.
Kawa na heka nyingi kwa sababu ya pesa yake, lakini hakufaulu kuzitoa. Mwenye nyumba ambaye ni Simeon akamwambia sasa hiyo pesa, hiyo choo ni ndefu sana ambayo ni futi 60. Sasa kuingia ndani kuzitoa haingekuwa kitu rahisi. Akamkataza labda uache, tutafute njia nyingine, hiyo choo ikuje kupomolewa ndio utoe pesa yako.
The woman would go home only to return this morning with two men who she had allegedly promised 3 of the 13,000 shillings, but only if they could retrieve it. And so they went to work.
Wakachimba paka kisha simu ikatopoka kutoka nyuma kuelekea ndani. Baadaye baada shimo kutoboka wakatafuta kamba ili mmoja ingie ndani na mwingine ashikirie, afuata ile kamba kwa futi 60 ndani na huyu akimfunga. Bahati mbaya mmoja akaingia akifungwa, na vile walielewana akafika katikati ndani, ewa ikakosa na pumzi ya kuongea kuja ikakosa, kisha akakamatuka kamba akaanguka ndani.
That is when emergency services were called and the two men rushed to Kisii Level 5 Hospital. It is here that the story changed.
Mambo ya pesa mimi sijui. Hata sikuwa najua kama ni pesa ilikuwa inatafutwa. Kama ni pesa ilikuwa inatafutwa, mimi hata singeweza kuingia juu yeye alienda kujitafutia na mimi sikuwa nimejipanga. Mimi nilifikiria ni mtu amejitupa ndani tutaweza saidia. Mambo ya pesa mimi sijui.
The excitement in the village has died when the crew goes back. A few people are still trying to make sense of the day's events, with a pair of soiled trousers telling the most details. The woman who lost the money has apparently disappeared, but the story of two men who fell into a latrine for money will probably never go away in this village. Edith Kimani, KTN.
Thanks, Edith, for that very, very interesting story, the depth that people will go to. Now, a number of people are really, I cannot believe that you slept on the floor.
Yeah.
Maybe you should expound a little bit on that. At what point was that?
Yes, it was a few years before we began the ministry, Jubilee Christian Church, that we went absolutely completely down. Our business closed down, and I mean everything just went haywire. And then the Lord directed us to go to a widow's house. You know, it seems like the story of Elijah in the Bible.
Yeah.
And so we went to the widow's house, and she really had a small house where she had to move from her room to some room with her kids, and then put me up together with my kids in one room, and my husband.
With your kids too? Okay.
With that time we had 2 children. Now we have 3.
Yes.
And so we slept on the floor, you know, on a little mattress for quite some long time.
Wow.
You know.
But after that, God raised you up, and now you are where you are.
Yeah, and now we're where we are. We've come from a mighty long way.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I like that. And I think there's a couple of people who are asking a similar question. How do you respond to critics saying that, you know, the Kunas have amassed too much wealth from the church? How do you respond to such
What I can tell them is that they don't know us. They just know the name, the Kunas, but they don't know the story. You know, I mean, to even have a big church like we do, to keep those doors open, it takes so much. It takes so much. So they really don't know us. They just know the name, and so I really can't explain. You know, when somebody doesn't know you, they guess. They just guess. Oh, this one is this, and this one is that, and the other. But I thank God for there are those who know us, especially the congregation of Jubilee Christian Church, and they understand who we are. We've come a mighty long way with them, and they've seen us being raised. And you know what? Incidentally, even the congregation, most of them have come with nothing and have seen God raise them up in so many different ways. You know.
All right, that's nice. So so you're saying it's not wrong for church leaders, for men and women of God to live well?
No, not at all. In fact, they're the ones who should show the way, because if they live well, trust me, the congregation is going to live well. If they don't, even the congregation suffers. Because as the leader goes, so do the followers.
So do the followers.
So do the followers.
All right, and we'll take a short commercial break. But when we come back, I want you you are also a person who empowers so many women in different fronts. And there are a couple of ladies who say that, you know, it's time for them to get married. A number of them, but they're not getting the right man. So is it something that they're doing wrong, or so? I think that's a very interesting question that we'll want to seek your words on.
Right.
But for now, I'd like to give you the task of taking us to a commercial break using this camera.
Okay. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Tourism has been a key pillar of the Kenyan economy for years, contributing 12% to the gross domestic product and sustaining 1 in 10 jobs. Now, recently, however, the sector has seen its fortunes turn for the worse after a series of crises saw it post decreasing earnings, putting the future of tourism in Kenya into question. But the government has now moved in to save it from sliding into oblivion. Adelaide Changole with the details.
The past 2 years have been anything but rosy for the tourism sector. First, the sector witnessed a slowdown in activity as tourists adopted a wait-and-see approach ahead of the March 2013 elections.
We had a very successful general election, and the tourism sector picked up.
Then came the August 7th inferno that destroyed the arrivals terminal at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, and subsequently the Westgate Mall incident that put Kenya's security situation in the spotlight and saw tourist numbers reduced to a trickle.
The airport fire incident and the Westgate terrorism incident has affected the tourism sector very, very badly.
This has seen earnings from the sector fall from 97.3 billion in 2011 to 96 billion last year. And it has cost it the title of top foreign exchange earner in the country. But now the government is moving in to rectify the situation by appointing a committee that will chart the roadmap for the sector going forward. The team will include members from both the private sector and the government, among them the Kenya Tourist Board Managing Director Murithi Ndegwa, Kenya Tourism Federation Chairperson Lucy Karume, Chairman of the Kenya Association of Hotel Keepers and Caterers J.S. Vora, and Adam Jilo from the Kenya Association of Tour Operators.
I have appointed this standing committee that will help the Ministry of East African Affairs, Commerce and Tourism to come up with those, policies and, proposals to government as to where we need to take the tourism sector.
The team will be tasked with developing a marketing strategy that will showcase Kenya as the country to visit in the region.
We need to convince the world that, yes, it's safe to come to Kenya. Kenya is still the best tourist destination, and we need to take that message directly to the source markets.
Stakeholders lauded the decision, saying it could be the cure to the malaise that has been affecting the sector. They urged the state to give the team the necessary support to turn the fortunes of the sector around.
And if we don't take tourism seriously, there'll be a lot of job losses, and we would hate to see that.
The tourism sector currently contributes 12% of the country's GDP and employs 10% of the workforce. Adelaide Changole, KTN Business.
Now, Lucy Mbogwa has been confirmed as the Managing Director of the Kenya Airports Authority for a term of 3 years. Mbogwa, who has been serving in an acting capacity since August the 15th last year, was appointed by Transport and Infrastructure Cabinet Secretary Michael Kamau with recommendations from the KAA board. She takes over from former Managing Director Stephen Gishuki, who proceeded on leave pending expiry of his term. Making the announcement, KAA board chairman Professor Mutuma Mugambi said Mbogwa emerged the best from over 50 candidates after an intensive interview process. Mbogwa took over office shortly after the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport fire in August and has been overseeing restoration as well as expansion of activities at the airport. Now, the East African countries are set to benefit from the newly harmonized grain standards that will ensure that there is a level playing field in the sector across the region. Now, these new standards are also expected to minimize the risk of food shortage in the region by allowing easy movement of grains across states, as well as providing ready market for farmers in the region. Well, this comes as grain standards experts met in Nairobi to explore the implementation and adoption of the newly gazetted EAC harmonized standards under the umbrella of the East African Grain Council.
The adoption and implementation of the new grain standard is expected to deliver a number of benefits to all, including increasing transparency and formalization of language of trade, generating natural performance incentives where grain processors who pay a premium for higher quality products can eliminate costly additional processing steps and access higher value niche markets.
A trader in Kenya importing maize from Zambia
with the inspection agencies checking that maize there and giving a certificate of clean reports, would give comfort to the buyer in this country or any other country that what they are getting is grade 1 or grade 2, and the pricing will not be a big issue now.
So far, trade between the East African member countries has doubled to $4 billion in 2013, with an additional growth in foreign direct investment from $2.6 billion in 2010 to $3.8 billion in 2013. In addition, the EAC was rated the fastest growing region, which rose to 3.7% from 3.2% in 2010 in the recent African Development Bank statistics, hence the dire need for harmonization of standards in the region.
We talk about shortage or threat of shortage of food. This happens because there are areas where there are surplus and there are areas of deficit. If there is no movement, then there would be a threat in one region.
Producers who meet the quality standards are rewarded with high prices and long-term contracts. Additionally, the standards are expected to promote fair trade and enhance transparency for increased trade in the staple foods, promote trade in quality grains, and enhance adoption of structured trading systems while improving food safety and hygiene. Philip Keitany, KTN Business.
Now, the government has moved in to dispel fears the country could be plunged into darkness following the drop in water levels in various hydropower stations. While admitting that water levels were dropping at an alarming rate, levels due to the harsh weather, the Ministry of Energy says that it had put its mitigation measures to avoid blackouts. According to the ministry, the supply of 140 megawatts from Oil Carrier 1 power plant by March would supplement the deficit from the hydropower. The Oil Carrier 4 power plant is also scheduled to be online by July, adding a further 280 megawatts to the national grid, with cheaper power coming onto the grid. The ministry expects the cost of power to drop by 40%.
We're going to generate enough power, very competitive pricing, bringing down costs by up to 40%.
KTN Business, in association with Safaricom Self-Care.
To get your M-Pesa statement, PUK, Bongo Points, and more without calling customer care or visiting a Safaricom shop, simply log on to www.safaricom.co.ke and click on Self-Care.
That's business. Let's now have a recap of our top story tonight. And 2 senior police officers were today sacked after being found unsuitable in the ongoing vetting of police. Philip Twimore, who has been based at police headquarters in Nairobi, and Eusebius Laibuta, who was in charge of Administration Police Training College in Amali, were discontinued from service after being found unsuitable. The National Police Service Commission announced 3 other senior officers, Kingori Mwangi of Vigilance House, Gideon Kimilu of CID headquarters, and Peter Pamba of AP operations are still under investigations, and their verdict will be known next Friday. Well, let's now have a story that we promised you earlier of First Lady Margaret Kenyatta's latest campaign on how to keep our infant babies alive. Let's have the story.
Every year, 5,500 women in Kenya die due to pregnancy-related complications. Figures released by the government show that in 2012, 100,000 children below the age of 5 died before their 5th birthday. In the same year, there were 13,000 new infections among children, of whom 62% did not access life-saving antiretroviral drugs. Other leading causes of death among children under the age of 5 include pneumonia, preterm birth complications, diarrhea, and malaria.
To raise funds to buy mobile clinics.
It is because of these worrying figures and preventable circumstances that the First Lady Margaret Kenyatta led other stakeholders in launching the Beyond Zero campaign.
For supporting what you've seen, it doesn't need to be gone over again. From the bottom of my heart, for Kenya, all of you, thank you.
Just outline a few of the initiatives which Her Excellency has really supported. It has been outlined about the HIV, AIDS, TB and malaria. We've had many programs where she has come to our support. She has come to our support in terms of cancer screening services. We went to Abakasi with Her Excellency sometime last year.
To highlight the challenges facing disadvantaged women and children in Kenya, the First Lady will participate in the 2014 London Marathon, a global platform to raise visibility of the issues and mobilize resources to access services. Ian Wafula, KTN.
Let's go on to some politics. As aspirants who want to run for party positions in ODM make their applications, confusion rages over claims that some top positions are to be set aside for particular regions to balance the leadership. As Sam Mugina reports, many of those who have declared verbally what positions they wish to run for are buying time as they wait to know which way the winds are blowing inside the opposition party.
The Orange House is grappling with regional balance matrix in the forthcoming party elections. The party is split between securing the top posts for regions considered ODM strongholds and freeing up the positions to ensure ODM gets a national outlook.
Every member, regardless of the region, has equal chance and equal opportunity if only he can convince the delegates.
5 weeks to the National Delegates Conference, already insiders claim that there are proposals to set aside the most powerful positions for its stronghold regions. The positions at stake being Raila Odinga's party leader position, chairman of the party, and the Secretary General's post. The slots insiders say are to be distributed in Nyanza for the party chair position, Western for the chairman's position, and Coast region for the Secretary General's position. But when KTN spoke to some of those eyeing these positions, they say that those are just rumors and have not been discussed at any official level of the party hierarchy.
This time, mama kupea tu watu viti ovyo ovyo. Atuna nominate watu ovyo ovyo. Tutawacha. Tutanominate watu wamepigania chama. Tunominate watu wamepigania chama. Ndio tuone wameenda mbele.
Some sources maintain that the remaining 23 positions are to be scattered across the country. Already Funyula MP Paul Otuoma is vying for the chairmanship drawn from Western region. He faces off with Mugirango South MP Manson Nyamweya. ODM is non-committal on Nyamweya's ability to deliver the Gusii region's votes in the wake of Ford People's overdrive to relaunch itself.
But as a single entity, we are the largest party. I want to dispel this rumor that the list is going to be doctored. If anybody has got those intentions, I want to tell you, you are dealing with a completely different crop of people. We will not tolerate that, and we will not allow you to do that.
Meanwhile, at the Coast, nominated Senator Dr. Agnes Nzani has already filed her application papers for the Secretary General's position. Zani's candidature stirred controversy over claims that she is Raila's preferred candidate for the SG position. Insiders claim Zani has established a strong network and support within the party.
Tuna haja hatunakota mtu kwa sababu kuna degree. Sahi wanasema kuna mama atakana kwe Secretary General anatoka kule Pwani. Yeye amenominatiwa na Raila kama senator. Hiyo inamtosha.
Despite many orange lieutenants expressing interest for various seats in the party, few have put their intentions on paper. With the January 27th application deadline looming, nearly 20 contestants have applied, including Senators Zani and Elizabeth Ongoro, MPs Ababu Namwamba and Paul Otuoma applying for their respective positions. The rest have only verbally declared their aspirations. The battle for the orange takes shape after the Monday 27th deadline, when the lineup for contestants becomes defined. It is the first time since its inception in 2005 that ODM seeks a leadership rebranding. Samugina, KTN.
It's now that time that we pave way for our teacher, Willis, the word master, to give us a lesson, an English lesson. And this one is back due to public demand. Take a look. Now it's that time on the show that we cross over to Kisumu County, where Willis, the word master, is standing by to make English sound even better. Willis, good evening. Great to see you.
Good evening, Betty. Great to see you too.
Are people in Kisumu County improving on their pronunciations?
Betty, people are really improving, but as I said, it depends on who is using English in which way or where. That is, when we talk about those who are in careers of serious communication, they are trying their best to improve their pronunciation.
Great to hear that. Now tonight, let's begin with a certain word that gives so many people a lot of problems. Should we say that the combination of rice and chicken makes a good meal, or should we say the combination of rice and chicken makes a good meal?
Betty, the word is combination. We have the verb combine, but when that word is changed for grammatical function, we say combination, combi. That vowel glide, I, disappears, then we have I, combi, combination. Just like we talked about invitation, not invitation. We also have compilation from the verb compile.
All right. So for those people who invite us to weddings, it's invite you to a wedding, but you say you have received your wedding invitation.
That is it.
All right. Let's move on to the other one. Now, this one, teachers like using it a lot, especially when they're referring to naughty children. So is it Nicholas Mudimba is a mischievous boy, or Nicholas Mudimba is a mischievous boy?
Betty, we say mischievous. People mistake that word has V-I-O-U-S in its terminal part, which is not the case. So the mistaken spelling makes some people to mispronounce that word. We say mischievous, V-O-U-S, verse. So it's just like the word. When we are talking about grievous, we should not say grievous harm. No, we say grievous harm.
Will, it's always a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for your time, and see you again next week on Friday Briefing for more learning of these words which give us a lot of problems.
But as I always say, Betty, nobody, not even myself, can be totally perfect when it comes to matters of pronunciation.
And to take us through the sports news is Nick Mudimba.
All right, thank you, Reverend Karthik. And of course, one Betty on the other side where you're sitting that it won't get easier when we leave these studios. But coming up in sports, we'll be giving you more on athletics news. We have rugby, and of course, we have more international news, including tennis. Stay tuned to KTN Friday Briefing.
Kenya's First Lady Margaret Kenyatta to grace the London Marathon for a worthy cause.
Rabbits for quails, the benefits of rearing rabbits.
You are watching KTN Friday Briefing.
Guest, Kenyan First Lady, Her Excellency Margaret Kenyatta will be on the starting lineup as she seeks to raise funds to go into the mother and child health care here in the country.
And on the
the near side.
It will be the first time in the Kenyan history that a First Lady will be participating in the London Marathon that's famed for bringing together top marathoners from Kenya and beyond. Margaret Kenyatta will, however, not be gunning for the winner's trophy or the thousands of prize money. Her prize will rather be successfully raising awareness and funds to improve maternal and child health care facilities in the country. To make it possible to take part in the grueling race, Kenya's First Lady has been on the tracks under the watchful eyes of the 1987 World Marathon champion Douglas Wakihuri.
Around November, where it started through walking, a bit of walking, because I think she has been walking all along. And after a month or so, we came into running because, walking is as good, but I think starting running slowly, which is like half an hour, then you walk, half an hour plus walking.
Wakihuri says the First Lady has been able to make numerous progress since November of last year and has been able to run for 1 hour from 0 minutes when she first began training.
Looking at her, she's a very good student. And I think just by looking at her performance after 2 months, I think you can tell she's exceptional.
But how hard is it to run a marathon?
The ultimate goal, of course, is finishing. But for the marathon, you cannot just assume that you're going to run and finish because you have a long journey of 2 months to training, and hopefully she will be in the best shape of her life.
Before heading to London, Mrs. Kenyatta will host a half-marathon event on the 9th of March in Nairobi, dubbed the First Lady's Half Marathon, that is open to all Kenyans. Sports in general has been used on several occasions to raise awareness on issues affecting the society. However, it lights up many faces to see the Kenyan First Lady, Her Excellency Margaret Kenyatta, embracing athletics for a worthy cause. Lane Washira, KTN.
Thank you, Lynn Washira, for that report. We are coming for you. This is the war cry that the technical bench of the national men's volleyball team ahead of the grudge match against the Africa Big Guns Egypt. The team has enlisted the services of Australian coach Chris Grant to help the team that seems to perform well within the region but flaps on the continental stage.
Kenya men's volleyball team believes Egypt is the only team that stands on their way to the Poland World Cup slated for end of August to the 21st of September this year. Egypt has been a hard nut to crack over the years for Kenyan teams, not only for men's team. However, the national team has enlisted the services of Australian coach Chris Grant. And after 10 days with the team, he now believes he has the answers for Kenya's predicaments.
We have changed the defense system completely. It was very old, it was outdated, it was not working. So we changed how they do defense differently, and we're also working on small techniques.
There's a winning mentality at camp, and the national head coach feels Kenya, as host of the Pool U qualifiers between the 5th and 11th of February, will fight all the way to clinch one of the 4 tickets reserved for Africa.
Tuko tayari kama vile unaona, tuko na pia na mzungu ameona makosa ambaye wachezaji wetu wa Kenya kutoka kwa wakina dada na wanaume wote makosa ambayo wanafanya.
Grant insists that while the country may lack in infrastructure, the gap between established nations and Kenya has reduced drastically, and the men's team can knock Egypt off their comfort patch.
I think they would definitely state their case against Egypt, as you put it. They have a good chance. They're playing at home. They're playing in front of a home crowd.
There are 4 pools of 5 teams in Africa fighting for the 4 slots. Kenya is in Pool U together with Egypt, Cape Verde, Botswana and Zambia.
Tumeweka target yetu juu yao na zile vitu ambaye pengine tuliziona kule Rwanda ndio tunajaribu kurekebisha.
The coach expects a full house by the end of the month when professional players Philip Maio and Michael Chamos jet into the country. The World Championships will be hosted by Poland from the end of August to the 21st of September. For KTN Sports Today, I'm Hassan Juma.
Right, time to have our news ender for the evening. And rabbit farming is a venture that farmers are being encouraged to take up, as it is said to be very profitable and easy to manage. At a workshop in Nyeri held by the Rabbit Republic Company and the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, farmers in rural areas have been asked to take up rabbit rearing, as its meat, skin and even urine can generate a meaningful income. Carol Derry with that very interesting story.
While many delicacies do find their way onto our tables, rabbit meat is yet to rightfully claim its place as a popular consumable in Kenya. Though the number of rabbit consumers has gone up, there are deliberate efforts to enlighten farmers on why they need to rear rabbits. The Rabbit Republic Company, in collaboration with the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, has embarked on a project that will reach out to farmers in rural areas to teach them about rabbit rearing. Professor Esther Morogi Kahangi of JKUAT says helping them venture into viable business will empower them.
Because we found a company that was ready to buy rabbit products for the farmers, because they have also an enormous market abroad. And therefore, that is why now we have come here for this company to train the rural women whom we have trained at JKUAT to start rabbit farming as a business, because the market is already there.
All products obtained from rabbits can generate an income. These goods on display here at a workshop in Nyeri have been made from a rabbit skin.
Currently, we have market for meat and skin. However, products like urine and the blood and the manure is also marketable, but we have not yet gone to that because we are adding item per item, and also every item has its own specifications. We've been able to meet the requirements for the skin and the meat. We are researching on urine now, and we are researching on how to get the blood, which is used in the growth of microbacteria in laboratories.
Though the ready market is for the meat and skin, its urine is said to be in demand for its use as an effective fertilizer. Rabbit Republic and JKUAT hope to reach out to more farmers in all the 47 counties to convince them that rabbit rearing is a profitable venture. Well, whether this is a transformation from quail farming to rabbit rearing, this we can't quite say. But they say with the rabbits, nothing goes to waste. From the meat to the skin, even to the urine that is used as a fertilizer. They say this is quite a profitable venture. Carol Nderi for KTN in Nyeri.
Thank you very much, Carol. It's very interesting. She is the one who introduced the quails, the quail farming in Nyeri to us, and now she's introduced the rabbit farming. So boy, oh boy, we'll see if there is going to be a rabbit revolution like the quail revolution. All right, let's have a review of our big question tonight. And we had asked you, do you think that former Prime Minister Raila Odinga owes Kenyans an apology for claiming that the military was used to rig the March 4th general elections? And 66% say no, that he owes Kenyans no apology, and 34% say yes, that he should indeed give Kenyans an apology for those particular claims. Right, so thank you very much for your texts and your tweets. And of course, we are back with Reverend Kathy Kuna, the lovely lady. I can see so many people asking what she does to, keep young. You have two daughters in university. You yourself, you look like you're in university.
Wow.
What's the secret? Tell us.
Just loving the Lord.
Loving the Lord.
Yes.
I knew you'd say something like that.
You knew.
And let me ask, there's a couple of women who are asking, is it wrong for women to go up to men, to make the first step? And, if you spot a guy, you just go and say, you know what, I like.
I penda.
I penda.
For me,
is it right?
I think men are hunters. All right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, if you go and ask him, then he won't really feel, okay, his ego will be boosted, obviously, but he won't feel like he is the go-getter.
Yes.
He'll feel like he's the,
But then what if the guy is not, what if the
he's
guy
not
is
reacting?
Yeah.
Maybe
and
you
see
should,
there's a potential.
Maybe you should just, carry yourself in a manner likely to suggest that he is not a bad person.
I like your choice of words.
But going to tune him and let him know what you're feeling, for me, I think that's a bit on the high side.
On the high side. All right, and finally, let's talk a bit about Daughters of Zion that is happening tomorrow.
Right.
What is it about? I was just asking you that a bit earlier.
Daughters of Zion, a few, like 10 years ago, the Lord said to me, I want you to raise up the standard among women, because women, especially the African woman, was feeling like she is secondary, like she can't achieve a lot, she can't be all that. And he said, I want you to go raise up the standard among women and let every woman know that she is not secondary. In my agenda, she's actually very primary. And she needs to take her place of authority and know who she is and carry herself as such. So Daughters of Zion is about raising up the standard, letting a woman know she's not a nobody. She's actually a woman without limits.
Without limits. I know that phrase. All right, so it's happening tomorrow.
It's happening tomorrow from 1 o'clock at JCC Parklands, and every woman is invited. And a lot of women ask, is it a paid up event? No,
it's free.
It's actually free. Any woman, old, young, whatever, you're invited.
Kathy Kiuna, thank you so much for coming. It was such a pleasure having you. And I'll see if I'll come tomorrow.
Please do. Please do.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
That has been Friday Briefing. Thank you so much for watching and for sending in your tweets, your messages, and of course, those lovely ones to Reverend Kathy Kiuna.
Thank you.
My name is Betty Callow, and enjoy the rest of your KTN viewing.
Right. Enjoy.
All right. Good night.